Hello my name is วิลาวัลย์ ติวิพัฒน์ Unit คุณพูดถูก
Everything about
Good point.
Good point Good point พูดได้ดี
the place just screamed perfect Texas barbecue to me.
Sure. What I like the most about Micklethwait is they did everything great and they put their own little spin on it. They didn't reinvent the wheel. They just did their own specific way, and that to me elevated everything. I think with Micklethwait, altogether everything just works so perfectly. I'm like dreaming about that brisket.
Here's what I'll also say about Louis Miller: the sausage, all beef.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Everything had its own great element, but I think overall, Louis Miller, all beef,
Okay.
Texas, best barbecue. Everything about that place just screamed perfect Texas barbecue.
You help me to keep a level head about things. You help me to prioritize and rationalize when I'm feeling overwhelmed, and that is awesome. But sometimes doing what's right doesn't serve my own needs. Sometimes, if the situation calls for it, inconveniencing myself a bit in order to help someone else in need is the right thing to do. Point taken. I have a lot to consider.
Point taken
Point taken. I have a lot to consider. 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 I have a lot to consider.
They told me you people were conceited douchebags. But that isn't true at all. Oh, shit. I'm using my wrong eye again, aren't I? I'm sorry. That was meant to be behind your back.
Count yourself blessed they didn't kill you.
You're telling me. You're telling me. You're telling me. You want to buy some batteries? They told me.
You are telling me
You're telling me.
You are telling me
They told me you people were conceited douchebags. 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 But that isn't true at all. 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 That was meant to be behind your back. 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 That was meant to be behind.
Count yourself blessed they didn't kill you. 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 Count yourself blessed they didn't kill you.
You're telling me. You're telling me. You're telling me. You want to buy some batteries? 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 You want to buy some batteries?
Anybody give you any trouble?
Yeah, here I am, arming Lannisters, and they never get a second look. You were right. You were right. Safest place for me was right under the Queen's nose.
Don't be so sure. Safety is never a permanent state of affairs. Bad things are coming.
You were right.
You were right. You were right. You were right.
You were right.
You were right.
Don't be so sure. 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 Safety is never a permanent state of affairs. 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 Safety is... Bad things are coming. 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 Bad things are coming.
Unit Witness วิธีการอธิบายสิ่งต่างๆที่โอ
Today we're going to be talking about ways of describing things that are old. A lot of students ask me if I have any good advice on how to describe old things. Luckily, I've got a lot of good tips, so let's get started. When we think of adjectives to describe the age of something, the most basic ways are to talk about young or old. But there are some situations where we need to be very careful how we describe how old something is. Let's think about buildings and objects to start with. With buildings and objects, machines, etc., we can say old or new. For example, my furniture is very old. I need some new furniture. Or, that building is very old. In fact, it's ancient. Now let's talk about people. We need to be very careful when we describe how old people are. We can talk about young people, but generally we don't talk about old people. It's not thought as very polite in English. For example, you shouldn't say, "Happy birthday, Grandma. Wow, you're getting so old." In the same way, you don't see in newspapers, "Old people need help." It's important to remember asking how old you are in Western countries is seen as being rude. We don't generally ask about how old someone is, what their salary is, and if they're married or single. So how do we describe old people? In newspapers and magazines, writers will talk about older people. This has the same meaning as old, as in they've lived many years, but it does not have the negative feeling which goes with the word old. For example, younger people have lots of energy, whereas older people have lots of experience. Let's look at another example. Older people need help in our community. However, in novels, writers will still use the word old to describe people. For example, the novel The Old Man and the Sea. Let's talk now about very old people. If someone is very old, we might use the word elderly. In the dictionary, it says somebody over the age of 65 can be called elderly. However, many people at the age of 65 don't want to be called elderly. It's generally okay if you use the word elderly to describe someone who is not strong enough to live alone. So an elderly person might live with other old people in a home. We sometimes say the elderly to describe a group of elderly people. For example, the elderly might need help with their shopping. I have an elderly aunt who lives in a care home. Today we're going to be talking.
Older people need help in our community. Older people need help in our community.
Older people need help in our community.
Then there is my Stanford t-shirt. It is also very comfy, not as soft as the other one, but I wear it a lot because it's really comfy. I live in a town where there's a lot of elderly people. I live in a town where there's a lot of elderly people. I live in a town where there's a lot of elderly people because there's a lot of retirement communities, and so everywhere you go, you always are talking to different elderly people who just want to talk because they always want to talk, which I love. And so this t-shirt has been a conversation starter to a lot of people. They always tap me on the shoulder and they're like, "Are you going to Stanford, honey?" Then there is my...
I live in a town where there's a lot of elderly people.
I live in a town where there is a lot of elderly people. I live in the tower where I live in a town I live in a town where there is a lot of elderly people.